What's up, my Rolly gang yang? Your girl back with a part 2. I'm glad to have gotten part 1 out the way. Y'all was on my ass like gas and no brakes. Y'all motivated the hell out of me to put part 1 out. So I decided to go ahead on and drop part 2. Before we jump into it, I want y'all to go ahead on, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment, because we get wrapped up in these videos and, you know, let's go ahead on and jump right in. But before I do, one more thing. Let me clarify 2 things on my last video. The machinery that I was on was called belt man lift. Yeah, a belt man lift. So if y'all Google that, you can get a better idea of what exactly it was I was on. And not only that, after talking to my little cousin, she was like, Melia, I found you on a 7th floor. So whether it was like 14 or 16 or 12 or 16 flights up, I landed on floor 7. So either way, it was a lot of flights that I went down. So those 2 things I wanted to clarify. Part 2 about to start. Bam. So I left off at getting out of the machinery after getting the MRI done and like getting a cocktail concoction. So after that, I went into ICU. I was in ICU. I don't remember how long I was in ICU, but basically they needed to monitor my spine and make sure that it didn't go into shock and cause more problems. So everything he was saying basically was like going one ear and out the other. Like, I just needed him to get to what mattered the most to me. I just went ahead on and asked him. I'm like, am I gonna be able to walk again? And the doctor straight told me, it'll be a less than 5% chance that you will ever walk again. When I tell y'all he snatched my soul out my body, and I respect him for like not beating around the bush and like sugarcoating it. Like, I just needed to hear that, and I respect him for that. I wish it would have been a statistic case and I could have proved him wrong, but I mean, that's what it was. I sustained a fracture to my spine at my T12 vertebrae. That's why I can't walk technically. It's called a burst fracture is what took place with my spine. I didn't want to believe it. Of course, I was in denial. That whole ICU stay pretty much was the hardest for me. I had a nurse named Amy. She was really, really sweet. Finally moved me to a room. The room was so nasty and disgusting. It looked like concrete floors. It was like, looked like they hadn't mopped and waxed in like, I don't know how long. It was just so dirty. It kind of felt like a cell. It was like really small. It almost seemed like they had concrete walls in there. Like, it was just crazy. Shout out to the nurses, cause baby, my nurses took care of me. They called me Holly Berry up in there. And shout out to my favorite nurse, Nurse Tana. I love Miss Tana. I can't wait to go back and see my girl. She was so sweet. But yeah, the nurses, they didn't mind giving me my medicine. Whew, your girl was on them cocktails. I had like this little pump thing that I would get medicine from, and then they would give me the Ativan for anxiety. And I also got Lovenox, I think it is, in my stomach to prevent me from getting blood clots, because I was laying down the whole time. I couldn't get up. My back was fractured. I'm just like on meds awaiting surgery. Went into the hospital May 4th, 2013, and surgery was scheduled for Sunday, May the 12th was a Mother's Day. Boom. I remember them coming to my room, rolling me down. I know I was asking a million and one question because I was nervous. I got to the little prep area, and then next thing you know, they were coming to get me to bring me back to my room. I'm like, what's going on? I thought I was going to surgery. They was like, oh, we had an emergency. There was this big shooting at a 2nd line in the 7th ward. It was a lot of people injured. So basically, they had to take the trauma victim straight to the operating room, and that pushed my surgery back. I got rolled back to the room. My doctors put a plan in motion until I can get back to surgery. They ordered me a back brace, right? They sent me some therapists, 2 therapists, an occupational therapist and a physical therapist. And the occupational therapist basically like helped me take care of myself, personal hygiene, whatnot. Physical therapist was there to like help me regain strength and, you know, stuff like that. The idea was to put this back brace on me so that it can stabilize my spine while they try to sit me up and try to get me mobilized until surgery. So I remember them putting this back brace on me and sitting me up. Oh my God. It felt like lightning bolts was striking like through my back. I ain't never cried behind pain before like I cried behind that pain. And that point on, baby, they wasn't sitting me up no more. I told them, take that brace and get out of here. But imagine your back fractured and they want you to sit up like that. That was a wrap on that. I wasn't doing that, and I was adamant about it. So the least they tried to do was at least sit me up on side of the bed. I was like laying down for so long, but when I would sit up, I would get like real dizzy, and so they had to sit me up for like a couple seconds at a time. Couple seconds went to minutes, and then before you know it, I was able to sit up, you know, longer and longer each time. Everything going on at one time, processing the trauma and just like dealing with it every day. Like it really was a lot. My therapist, like, they really tried. I'm not gonna lie, they tried to get me to, you know, to get up and do things, but I was so stubborn. I was like depressed. I still was in my feelings. Their name was Amy and John, by the way. And I remember Amy telling me, Amelia, if I had a shot for every time you smack your teeth, I'll be hella drunk right now. I used to give them so much attitude, but I guess it just was what I was going through. I didn't mean it. All right, so boom, surgery date came. Back around. Probably 2 weeks or a week and a half since the last surgery date. So finally, I remember this time because I was so anxious to get it over, just start recovering. That's the way I was with it. Patient escort came, got me. I remember my family walking me down, you know, kissed each other, told everybody we love each other. I just remember them rolling me away and me just throwing up the deuces to my family behind me because I just was ready. Like, got back there, they tried running IVs in me. All my veins were like ruined. I was dehydrated. I wasn't eating. Like, imagine that. So bam, they get me prepped. They rolled me to the back in that operating room. I saw all those people. I saw this little bitty narrow table that they was about to put me on, and I saw like a bunch of instruments, and I'm like, I started getting fidgety. I started asking questions, and I think the doctor knew at that point it was time to put me under. I don't even remember them transferring me to the table, then giving me the medicine. I remember the doctor saying count down from 5, but I only got to like 4. So I woke up in ICU, which was to me the worst part of surgery, period. Like, getting put under and being out for 12 hours not knowing what's going on is cool with me, but waking up with your tongue so swollen, it's hanging out of your mouth, and I'm feeling like I'm smothering, so I have to bite down on my tongue, so in my mind I don't think I'm like smothering or gonna swallow my tongue. So I think I woke up before the anesthesia wore off me. Shout out to Dr. Tender, because he was the surgeon over my surgery. Shout out to all of the doctors out there, because that gotta be hard, standing on your feet 12 hours straight. That's a tedious job. After I woke up like panicking and like the medicine started wearing off, I started snatching shit. The nurses had to come and restrain me, and at that point, that's when I bit down on my tongue, because that mentally, that was the only thing I can do to, in my mind, not feel like I was smothering or like choking myself. And so finally, when I got that under control, another guy comes and pulls like this big long silver balloon from my nose. Like, it couldn't get any worse than that. Like, that was the worst part. Recovery is terrible. To my understanding, the balloon has something to do with helping me breathe while they had me out. I just know I don't ever want to go through that again. After 12 hours of surgery, I now have titanium plates in my back, 2 titanium plates, and rods, screws, and bolts. My plates is 2 skinny plates that's running along my spine, and then the bolts is going across, like stabilizing them. And eventually I'll upload the x-ray so y'all can see what made me stay in ICU as long as I needed to be able to, where I'm supposed to go from here, right? And so I had so many questions for him. I had so many questions. Like, it was crazy. But at the end, I ended up gaining a relationship with him, because although I wasn't eating, like the no eating was turning into poor nutrition, depression. Like, it was getting bad for me. So I just staring out the window. I can't remember why. I think maybe a room wasn't available or something like that. But I feel like God made me stay in ICU as long as I needed to be able to, you know, get it out and just reflect on my life and where I'm supposed to go from here, right? But at the end, I ended up gaining a relationship with him, because no eating was turning into poor nutrition, and then depression. Like, it was getting bad for me. Like, I got tired of drinking insurance. It was bad. I just remember like staring out the window, crying. I wanted to get it out. I wasn't scared to cry. It felt so good to get it all out. I must have cried all day, every day in ICU, to the point where about the time I got out the hospital, I was all cried out. One of my toughest times in the ICU, I put Pandora on. And it's crazy how like God work. Guess what song popped up when I was going through like the roughest time in ICU? Hero by Mariah Carey. Like, that broke me down. Every time I hear that song, it reminds me of being in ICU. And that uplifted me. Like, it really did. So my mom ended up coming in with piece from St. Jude. It was like, I want to say a St. Michael necklace or what, and it had like this prayer card that went with it, and it was some anointed oil. And so the instructions was, anoint yourself with the oil and say the prayer every hour on an hour. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to see what go about. It really, really helped. And from that point on, my belief in God never changed. Like, if it wasn't for him, I would have never made it out of there. I was able to eat again, healing. I had to made it out of ICU. So I really felt like it was working wonders for me. I just had to like trust him and gain a relationship with him, which I did. And look at me now. Hey, look at me now. Hey. Bam. So a pulmonary embolism is when a blood clot travels to your lungs through your arteries. And it can potentially kill you if it prevent the blood flow from getting to where it needs to get to. So if anybody know anything, you know how serious a pulmonary embolism is. Like, that's like a life or death situation. What more was gonna happen? Like, I can't get out of here fast enough without shit just happening, right? So once the nurse told me I was being discharged, I called my mama, told her to come get my stuff. Before my mama could get there, the ambulance was there. So they was putting me on a gurney, strapping me down. Before we could walk out the hospital door, my mama was coming in to get my belongings. I'm like, yeah. Paramedics put me in a truck, and that was all I remember. 2-row, I'm on my way. This time, I feel more comfortable. Edit, so watch out a little bit. But I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching my channel, and I love y'all. My gang yangs. So just stay tuned for part 3. I got y'all. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave your girl a comment and tell me what y'all think.